Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by.
On the morning shift.
Anything
could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. Glad to be here with you. Thankful that you're here with us, and it's going to be a great show today, as usual. Today is Thursday, May the 30th, and we're just one day away from Friday. And the weather is just looking fantabulous. It started yesterday, and it should continue all the way through Sunday. If the forecast is indeed correct, we'll be getting to that momentarily. We're live on CKLU 96.7 FM, cklu.ca, where you can stream us. To click on the Radio Player Canada app. You can take us with you and listen to us anywhere, anytime. If you download that same Radio Player Canada app, it's available for everybody, free of charge. You don't have to pay anything. That's what that means. And we're also streaming live at facebook.com/Sudbury News, youtube.com/Sudbury News. So make sure to like, share, subscribe, follow all of our social medias, not just Facebook and YouTube. That's where we're live streaming, but we're also on Instagram and Twitter, now X. And we could also catch us on our website, which is the news aggregator for Greater Sudbury, sudbury.news, everything you need in one convenient location. So check it out, sudbury.news. So the show also lives on demand on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, now X, and sudbury.news. Click on the Sudbury News Talk tab, and you can watch the show on demand. Now, make sure to comment, because we'll do our best to read the comments for those listening, get them up on the screen for those watching. We're not always able to read all the comments because, there could just be a show of just kind of back and forth conversations, reading comments, but, we'll try to get to some local news headlines, Sudbury News Talk, and then also have a discussion about not only our community, but things that affect us, but things that affect people around who not only, go through the same things we're going through living in Sudbury. If you live in another city, let's say we have many people who join us each and every day who do not live specifically in Sudbury. Maybe they're from Sudbury or have some Sudbury connection. However, they don't live in Sudbury, but they experience a lot of the same things. And there's people just from right next door to all over the province, all over the country, all over the world, actually. And so we welcome you and know that the conversation will include things that you can take away from the show. We try to educate on this show, things that you may not hear every day on a normal mainstream, let's say, talk show or podcast. Things that are going on in the news that the news itself doesn't really cover, and try and make sense of the world in which we live in, which is very complicated. There's a lot of layers to it, and each and every day there's layers added. And some people are just happy, just going along with whatever they're told from mainstream media, not asking questions. They're fine. Leave that to them. They'll tell me what's going on. I don't need to kind of think for myself, and that's fine. But if you do like to unpack things and question things and, discuss what's going on in your world, this is the show for you. So anyways, and it is your show. I'm just facilitating a conversation and trying to together make sense of all these things that I was just talking about. So we have a great show planned for you today. I'm not sure the deep dive. We were supposed to have Judy Strawn on. She was, as we speak, she was on her computer trying to do some troubleshooting to get on the show. We've had this before with some guests as well. There's certain settings on the computer that will prevent a guest from coming on, but she was gracious enough to say, you know what? let me figure this out and I'll come on tomorrow if that's good. And we're good with that. Billy will be on tomorrow as well, so that's great as well. We'll have a really good conversation with Judy Strawn, who is very active in the arts world here in Sudbury. She's written a few plays with local themes and put them on, and they were great successes. And now this event that she was going to come on to promote is a fundraiser for CKLU. It's going to go ahead this Saturday, June the 1st, and it's going to raise some money for a great cause, which is CKLU, and it's local storytellers spinning yarns to support CKLU on June 1st. It's actually not knitting or things like that. It's everyone probably has at least one good story, and CKLU 96.7 Radio is hosting a live storytelling event called This Is My Story. And where is it? It's at the Sudbury Independent Cinema, and that is Saturday one after another. Each storyteller will pull back the curtain on an incident in their lives, whether funny, suspenseful, or life-changing. All stories will absolutely be true and told by the person at the center of the story. It promises to be a night to remember. MC is former CBC radio and CTV news anchor Peter Williams. I really appreciated him, especially on CBC. I remember when I was younger, I was preparing to head out of the country on basically a sabbatical for 2 years, and he was on the radio every morning. That was my alarm. Peter Williams coming on CBC was my alarm, and so got so familiar with his news and whatever, and I really appreciated his delivery and his personality. So he'll be emceeing this particular event. The stories he'll introduce have a wide variety of themes. One is the phone call that changed my life, Pillsbury Doughgirls, meeting my idol, stranded 3 days in the bush, stand-up comedy, the cure for self-esteem, Green Acres, and the garbage dump attack. So just the names themselves, pique curiosity, wanting to know what they're about. So Sudbury.com's own Jenny Lamoth is the storyteller behind Pillsbury Doughgirls. Some storytellers may be familiar with, some storytellers may be familiar and others new to the audience, but all have been carefully selected, curated, and invited to entertain by CKLU, the station that we're on currently and the one that needs your support. And that's why this event is going forth on June the 1st at Sudbury Independent Cinema. So make sure to Google it for times, and tune in tomorrow when we have Judy Strawn on, and she'll be on filling in the blanks of things, the things that I wasn't able to answer just now or able to speak to about the event. It's going to be a great interview. We'll do our best to get in contact with Judy today and help her troubleshoot the issues for getting on. And again, it's not her fault. It's the software we use creates a few more barriers to getting on for many people. It's not as easy as like a Zoom or whatever. So anyways, we'll be back with some weather, your comments, news headlines, and possibly a deep dive into the state of our country in terms of taxation, who's leading the country, why is it going the way it is, things like that, I think, is a general theme. And I have a few possibilities to go down, depending on how the conversation goes, which is every day on Sudbury News Talk. A lot of times you set the tone of what we'll be talking about through your comments. So we'll be back with that and more right after this. Stay tuned. It'll be a great show. Sudbury Weather brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. Soon to be a local business starting June, next Monday. So we're looking forward to that. Somebody getting on board to help promote the show and promote themselves and be part of what we're doing here. So we're grateful for that. And that'll be this Monday coming up. But right now it's brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. And currently it's 6 degrees. It is sunny out there, and it's going to be sunny all day. High of 19, UV index 6 or high. Tonight, clear, low of 7, so a little cooler overnight, which is nice for sleeping. And then Friday, sunny, wind will be moderate, and the high will be 25. UV index will be 7 or high. And I love the look at this long range forecast. Today, sunny. Tomorrow, sunny, high 25. Sunny and 24 tomorrow. Sunny and 24 on Sunday. 26 on Monday, where the clouds start rolling in for a mix of sun and cloud. Cloudy on Tuesday, 24, and a mix of sun and cloud. High of 25 on Wednesday. If I could just, take a screen capture of this, and this was the weather all the time. Maybe throw in one day of rain. Maybe every 7 days it rains. That'd be perfect weather for me. But anyways, I digress. Going back, though, I missed this. There's a frost warning, a frost advisory, sorry. I think they're on two different levels, advisories and warnings. But anyways, a frost advisory for the city. So those that have planted your gardens already, ouch. I think there's a reason why. Some people say to wait a little longer when you plant your gardens. But anyways, it's where we live. Frost may damage frost-sensitive fruit trees and vegetable plants. Patchy frost this morning as temperatures fall to the near freezing mark. Take preventative measures to protect frost-sensitive plants and trees, especially around this time of year, everyone. So there you go. And then look at the satellite. Pretty clear over everywhere, Northern Ontario. It's great to see. It's very rare, but we'll take it. We'll take it for almost a week. So, love the weather forecast this morning, and we'll be back with a great show for you. So stay tuned. Your comments, news headlines, and more after this. Sudbury Weather is brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. We'll be back right after this. Okay, and we are indeed back, as promised. Quite a few people on this morning. We have Judy, who's first to the Facebook party this morning. Good morning, Judy. Thanks for being with us. Monique, good morning, Sudbury, with a sunshine emoji. Thank you for that. And Mona, good morning. Thanks for being with us, along with Marianne. Good morning, everyone, from Chili Berry. It's also Chili in Berry, liked and shared as usual. Nancy, joining us from YouTube. Good morning. Hope your day is great, and I hope yours is as well. Nancy, thank you very much. Liette, good morning, everyone, from Collingwood. And Brian says, good morning, Sudbury Patriots. Liberty cannot be preserved without a general knowledge among the people who have a right and a desire to know. That's John Adams, one of the founding fathers of the United States in 1765. Just 11 years shy of the official birth of the United States. And good morning, Mike. Thanks for being on. Hopefully we'll have you on very soon for our new segment, Municipal Matters. We'll look forward to having that come to fruition. Thanks for being on. Denise, blessings from Espanola, Ontario. And Marianne, I remember Peter Williams on local news as a young adult. Yes, exactly. That's what I was reminiscing about this morning myself. Leond, good morning to you. Conservatives will solve the homeless like we had before the Liberals. Okay, well, that's going to be a tough task. I don't disagree with you in terms of before this current government was in, we didn't have the particular homelessness problem we had. You know, if you want to equate it to one particular party or not being in charge or at the helm in the driver's seat as to whether or not this problem would still be here, I think you can make a lot of arguments that the problem wouldn't be here if the same particular party was in the driver's seat, but I don't think it's a clear-cut conclusion. I think you can see a lot of the policies of the current government that led to why there's many people experiencing what they are experiencing. And so thanks for that. And I think you're not that far off. So Miles, good morning. Wasn't Williams on the radio version of Don Cherry's Grapevine? Yeah, you know what? I don't know. I do not know. I know he was on CBC Morning, and he was then the anchor of CTV News here in Sudbury for a time. Claire, good morning to you. And also Maurice, good morning with a smiley emoji, sunshine emoji, smiley emoji. Either way, it's very positive. Jerome, good morning. Sunny Sudbury. Yes, it's great to see the sun. It does something, right? Just does something. Does something for the spirit, for our spirits. Marianne, did anyone see the raising of the period flag? I have no words. Interesting terminology. I've never heard it said that way, but no, I haven't seen that. Also, frost this morning and tomorrow. If you cover your gardens, they will be fine. That is true. And Pat, good morning to you. Thanks for the smiley emojis today, everybody. Marianne also says, I remember a few years back when we got frost in July. Geez, wish with the weather modification they would make heat. LOL. Well, that's the whole thing, right? Weather modification. So that might be where we go a little bit this morning. I have some CBS news in the United States talking about weather modification in terms of a 1 trillion watt laser beam. This, I'm not making this stuff up, that they use to interact with the sky, the ionosphere, whatever you want to call it, to manipulate weather, even making lightning. So we'll have that. And there's a lot of people. I even had someone on yesterday who said one of the stories that I shared was just full of conspiracy jargon or something like that. And I was like, really? Like, what part was, It's getting to the point now that information is available enough to see a lot of what's going on in our world, but isn't covered by mainstream news. And I think there's a reason why mainstream news doesn't cover certain things. Might be because they're mainly funded by the government, and, the government really says, let's just not talk about certain things. Then certain things aren't talked about. And that's one angle. Maybe there's a lot of activism in media, mainstream media these days, people coming through the university and college systems, indoctrinated with, Marxist ideology, and then it's just an echo chamber in our mainstream media, along with being funded from one source, federal government, because people don't pay for it anymore. So it's less driven by people and more driven by government funding. And then it gets, a little bit watered down, I guess you can say, where you can talk about some things or not about other things. But weather modification is a thing. It's been around for many, many, many years. It does happen. It is in mainstream, which we will share. So maybe that'll be a bit of our deep dive today. I may talk a little bit about oil too. You may have heard fossil fuels, oil, fossil fuels. You've heard that your whole life. How is oil, how does oil come to be underground? It's kind of a common belief that it's because of things breaking down, old trees from millions of years ago, old life forms breaking down, and that's oil that comes from the breakdown of all that. But we'll have a particular gentleman on explaining that that's just hogwash, and that there's almost an unlimited supply of oil, and it's not fossil fuels. It was named that at a particular conference at the end of the 1800s, and it's stuck ever since, and it's just what it is, right? So some might say that's a conspiracy theory, but at least take the time to listen to this particular person share what he has to say, and then you make your own conclusions, right? So don't just, put your hands up to your ears and your hands over your eyes and not listen to it, and you might come to a different conclusion. You might say, well, why do we call it fossil fuels then? And then you might ask other questions, and then you might continue to ask questions, and your brain might start working, and rust starts flaking off, and you start thinking for yourself and start asking questions about the world you live in, and want answers. Maybe, but maybe you don't. And that's fine too. Not everybody does. It's okay. Not everyone can live like that. It's not a safe place to be. It's a reality place. It's a place where there's actual reality in your mind. And but it's not safe because anything can happen. Things you thought might have been true at one point might not be, and you have to be okay with that as you figure things out. And it's a kind of an attitude. It's a way of being, asking questions. But again, not everyone is comfortable with that, and I understand it. Yeah, I understand it 100%. But anyways, if you do want real stuff, it's out there too, and it's available for you to understand. Not easy. It's a bit of you have to go through a shift in your mind. But anyways, okay. Claire says, was told by my father never plant until after June 21st. In 71, always noticed he was right. So yeah, so right on the solstice, right? June 21st. And it's so sad because we have such a short growing period here in Northern Ontario. Liette, Marianne, absolutely disgraceful, seen and disapprove. Okay, so again, comments going back and forth. I'll try and vet those out on the fly. Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. That's Victoria. Thanks for being with us, Victoria. Marianne, exactly. So, spoken in Parliament yesterday, gatekeepers are the problem. Yes, we have many gatekeepers in our society. It is what it is. There's good, bad, and ugly from, our particular political systems that we have set up at the moment. There's some good because there's some stability there, and then some bad because, if there's wrong policies or policies that don't, they're not for the betterment of the people, and they're there, and we just perpetuate it and just keep doing things over and over and expect different results kind of thing. Bureaucracies grow and government grows, and then it's hard to do things. So again, there are good aspects and there's not so good aspects of our government and gatekeepers. Good morning, everyone. This is Denise. Stay safe and healthy. Love the show. Very interesting. Thank you. Thank you for being on. We try and keep it interesting as much as we can. We cover local news, which is getting more and more interesting every day, and, more issues abroad. Marianne, yes, caught that perfect. Denise, what will we allow to continue? That's exactly right. Miles says, no, that was Brian Williams did sports with Don Cherry. Yes, Brian Williams. Formerly of CBC as well, but national CBC, not local. And yeah, whatever happened to Brian Williams, right? He was always doing the Olympics, as far as I remember. Brian Williams doing the Olympics. Saying there is conspiracy is lazy ignorance, for sure. Yeah. Well, conspiracy is that one word. It's just like a one-size-fits-all word that you can just dismiss anything you don't want to take the time to look into, right? That's all it is. Hear ya? Okay, yesterday was told you are nuts. I will wear it as a badge of honor. Rather be nuts than Sleepy Sally. That's Marianne. Curious to be what it was that you were talking about that caused someone to call you nuts. But there's lots to choose from these days. So many things that are going on that are just, to me, just in plain sight and just a reality of our time. And if you tell some people that, they'll say it's a conspiracy. And one of them are weather modification. Weather modification. A lot of people say, we can do that. We can't do that. We can't manipulate weather. And it's like, wow, that's been going on for almost 100 years or more. Weather modification in different forms, in different ways. And there's many ways to modify the weather. But we've been getting really good at it. Just like, we have technology that we use that gets better and better. There's people working on that technology that make it better and better each and every day. And military technology is always at least 20 years ahead of anything that we hear about, right? So the military, you don't think they'd have a vested interest in weather manipulation? Do you think? At all? for any reason? You don't think they have a lot of money? They could pay a scientist or two to say, hey, how do you think we can manipulate this weather? And what would be the benefits of manipulating weather if you're the military? Oh, for your enemy, you can basically make weather that's tumultuous for them and hard for them to do anything to you. It's a form of weapon. It's a weapon. The weather can be a weapon, right? You ever see a tornado take out a whole town or a whole trailer park or a whole downtown of a place? Right? So it's a weapon. You don't have to use a bomb. So think of that. If it was possible, would they put time and energy into it? And if it was, and put money into it as well. So there you go. They have an interest in controlling the weather for their purposes. So you think they go, nah, you know what? We'll just keep making these bombs and stuff and guns. There's no reason to look into weather. Meanwhile, your enemy could do it if it's possible. So why would you leave it up to your enemy to manipulate weather against you when you don't have the ability to do that to them? So you see where all this is going? It's possible to modify weather. It's come a long way, and they can pretty much do anything they want right now with the weather. And we'll share that on the show right after local news headlines. So if you're one of those people, that's a conspiracy theory. And if you got to go to work and you're like, oh, I won't be able to hear that part of the show. Well, it's on demand, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, X, and now also on Sudbury.news. So you can see the show after and watch it if you're interested in knowing that it's not a conspiracy theory. It's actually very much not a conspiracy theory. It's very much just something that happens each and every day, all the time, everywhere. Okay, oil will never be gone. That's the reality. Just check the gardens. They're fine. Awesome, Denise. That's good. Pat says, it's quite a rabbit hole to go down. Some just don't want to. Okay, we lost that because new comments. Some just don't want to know. I guess they figure what they don't know won't hurt them. Yeah, exactly. Ignorance is bliss. It definitely is. This is Denise, Weather Modification Association, professional organization for the cloud seeding, or commonly referred to as weather modification, is the treatment of individual clouds or cloud systems in the attempt to achieve a desired beneficial effect, including fog, hail, mitigation, and additional precipitation in the form of either rain or snow. So yeah, I'm sure if you just look up weather modification on Google, you'll get it. It's done. Rex Murphy from the CBC, yeah, for sure. Military, 60 years ahead. Oh, 60 years ahead. Okay, wow. I thought it was only 20. That's a lot of years ahead. And yes, they have hidden much, for sure. The term conspiracy theory has run its course. Everything is a conspiracy until proven otherwise. It is intended and overused as a negative to deter people from thinking for themselves and seeking truth. That's Leah, for sure. Yesterday made a comment how on government officials at all levels will not discuss the jabs and not come clean about them, not sure what they are afraid of. Wait, I sure do know what they are afraid of. Yeah, I sure do know what they're afraid of. Okay, for sure. And that is a very layered thing as well, right? That whole thing that we just went through. And I shared a video of Dr. Martin speaking on the WHO, our World Health Organization, and how it's basically a criminal racket. It's a cartel. And they do laundering. Their beliefs are in world depopulation. So you have a health organization that has a foundational belief in depopulating the earth of people. So what does that tell you? So what kind of health are they going to be interested in, right? And I shared that on the show. I also shared it in the comments of, I believe it was yesterday's show. So if you're interested in that video, just look on yesterday's show, and there's that presentation by Dr. Martin. And he basically from beginning to end of the WHO lays out how it's a criminal organization and dates, names, everything there, so you can see that for yourself. So you don't have to say, oh, I wonder if the WHO are virtuous and praiseworthy and, they're only out for my best interests. You could think that, but if you just stop there, watch Dr. Martin in the comments yesterday, shared the video. But if you don't want to see it, you don't want to know how they're a criminal organization, then don't watch it. Just keep thinking what you think now, and that's okay too, because this is still barely, but a free country, so we can do what we want, and as long as it's not against the law. Or I guess if you look at the federal government, you can do what you want, even as low as against the law, as long as you have enough power that, nothing's going to happen to you. Weather news, scientists in the U.S. are flying planes into clouds too. March 14th, 2022 added that $28 to $34 per acre or foot. Cloud seeding is relatively cheap. Those numbers tell us that this is an inexpensive way to help add water to the system. So yeah, there's all kinds of news out there, all kinds. And so, let's not just wait, I guess, to the end. We'll just share the video now. Then we'll get into maybe some local news. But no, I digress. We're going to go local news first. And Mike is on the show right now, or was on at the beginning. I just want to say, holy cow, like yesterday, the amount of news that you got. City Council unanimously backs the $350 million plan to end homelessness by 2030. That was in the news big time, so you're covered by Sudbury.com and CBC on that one. And then Sudbury Star also did a story on you, that you are the new president and CAO of Workplace Safety North, which I thought you were for a while. And they did a story on you here. The Board of Directors of Workplace Safety North says it has appointed Mike Parent as the president and CEO. Parent, who stepped into the interim role, that's what it was. It was interim. So now you've been officially knighted as the president and CEO. Well, congratulations on that, Mike. So you stepped into the interim role in September, has been confirmed in the position with a background as a paramedic, miner, mine rescue, volunteer, and mining health and safety manager. Parent brings a wealth of experience to his new role. Workplace Safety North said. Parent also serves as Ward 5 councillor for the city of Greater Sudbury. He has been a pivotal figure at the WSN since 2015, serving as Vice President of Health and Safety Services, as well as interim President and CEO. So congratulations there, Mike, on that appointment, the official appointment. And then today, also covering some of the news today. Here we go. So Ring of Fire will bring hundreds of job opportunities to Sudbury and area. The battery supply chains at the heart of Sudbury, Ontario conference connecting mining and auto industries, right? So that was going on. And the big announcement was that Greater Sudbury, Kingston joined forces to take on Canada's battery electric vehicle sector, right? Mayors announced the creation of Kingston Greater Sudbury Critical Minerals Alliance in hopes it will create new jobs and economic opportunities. And as we go down the road of electrified vehicles and we bypass the whole hybrid thing, which I think is the mistake of the century, because we're in uncharted waters. We still need batteries though if we go down the hybrid road. And I would just strongly suggest, whoever's listening, hybrids are the way to go. I know you want to kill the oil and gas industry as fast as possible. The activists in our media and in our political realm, but it's a death sentence to everything in our society going full on electric right off the bat without going hybrid first. It just makes more sense. Sure, batteries are great. It can save on gas even, and whatever. And you can have all these great contracts and build the electric economy, but at the same time doing it in a responsible way. Hybrids, they're great. Nothing wrong with hybrids. Why are we bypassing the whole hybrid thing and wanting to go fully electric by whatever? Is it 2050 now they're talking about? But anyways, all this stuff, you hear about climate change and fossil fuels and all this stuff, you know. There's a particular gentleman talking about the what oil really is, and I don't know if you've ever heard this, but if you're interested, just take a look see here at what oil really is.
Well, you mentioned in one of your last talks that petroleum wasn't what we thought it was, that it wasn't a fossil fuel, that it didn't come from fossil animals.
Yeah.
Is it just a mineral? Is it a mineral like any other mineral? Is that how it what would you say? What's the origin of
You see,
petroleum?
when they first found petroleum, because they were beginning to make motors and needed on axles of wheels on railroad trains and all that sort of thing, and remember trains started in the beginning of the 19th century, then oil went from just a lubricant to a fuel, and it made it valuable. And Rockefeller happened to be the smartest man in the business at the time, but he made most of his money, or much of it, off the transport of the petroleum as well as selling it. But one thing they realized was, because oil is putting a price on oil is like putting a price on a pail of water. You know, no initial cost. It's in the ground, and in those days they were, some of it almost what you'd call surface mining the oil. They didn't go down deep. So in order to get the price up, they hit on the idea that they would have to make it appear to be scarce. That after we take the next few barrels out, we're probably going to have to close as well. You know, that kind of thing. Well, a very fortuitous event. In 1892, there was a convention in Geneva of scientists to determine what organic substances are. Well, the definition of organic is a substance with hydrogen, oxygen, and carbon. And so it's usually a living substance, a tree. You analyze a dead tree, hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen, and grass, and so on, living things. Animals, we are hydrogen, oxygen, and carbon. So at this Geneva Convention, Rockefeller took advantage of sending some scientists over who said, oil, petroleum, is hydrogen, oxygen, and carbon. Therefore, it must be derived from the spoiling, the rotting of formerly living matter. And playing the game properly, when this scientific convention was over, they defined oil as the residue from formerly living matter. Well, that makes it a fossil fuel. I don't know why they decided to use the word fossil, but it says formerly living matter is fossil. Well, of course, today, and another thing we should know is that there has never been a fossil, a real fossil, found below 16,000 feet. And you can't argue at 16,000 as a level line because someplace the ground sinks and so on. But 16 is what the scientists say, 16,000. We mine oil, or we drill for oil, at 30,000, 33,000, 28,000 every day of the week. So right there we rule it out that it isn't fossil fuel. It's called fossil fuel for the minds of the public to feel that it is an asset that is running out, being depleted. We talk about depletion allowance, which is a lot of, you know. And actually, if you know the world's oil supply, you know that it is not going to run out for an awfully long time. It is the second most prevalent liquid on Earth. And we haven't begun to dig. Well, with all that background, you see, the people in charge of the petroleum business, for perfectly reasonable business things, just like any other man in the business, wants to keep his price as high as he can get away with. And the way to do is just say, well, there's no more. The last barrel is going to cost $1,000, and then it's all done. And they preach that stuff. What bothers me is that that in geology books, it's in there. The geologists say it's a fossil fuel. They've been bought. I mean, I went to a 4-year federal staff energy seminar run by the government of the United States during the so-called energy crisis. I was the participant that represented the railroad industry. The airline industry was there. Every AA, administrative assistant of senators and congressmen, was there. The CIA was there. The Defense Department was there. The State Department was there. Sometimes sitting right in front of me in the row would be Henry Kissinger with his friend, the head of Department of Defense. That's too bad I can't put the names with them. But anyway, people like that, top men in the government, sitting there listening to the federal staff energy seminar. Well, what this was doing is for 4 years, they were teaching a propaganda line to the leading people in this country, and therefore to the leading people in the world, when you include the Schlesingers, Kissinger and Schlesinger, among others. And the object of it was, as Kissinger used in his own terms when it was time for him to speak, to create a world price for oil. In other words, not 30 cents a gallon here and 90 cents a gallon there, but let's get a world price. That's their goal, and they're trying to do that for wheat and everything else. We don't realize what the controls are, whether it's oil or some of these other things. Almost everything today is being categorized at the highest price they can possibly make it go. And so calling petroleum a fossil fuel is the basis for this system with respect to petroleum. And I don't know if the name Arthur Kantrowitz rings any bell. Arthur Kantrowitz is the head of the Kantrowitz Labs set up by the Avco company near Boston, scientific laboratories. And a great man in the scientific world. And Kantrowitz and I were sitting at a table at this seminar once, and the table happened to be all young college grad, PhD geologists. And so just to get a conversation started, I turned to Kantrowitz and I said, Arthur, what do you think about this foolishness of these speakers talking about fossil fuel? And it was kind of put up. He started laughing. He said, you know, that gets me. He says, I don't have a geology degree, but he had 1,000 other degrees. And he said, I don't understand. He said, you'd think that these heads, these other fellows at the table, we did it on purpose, start listening, you know. And he asked, he said, are you gentlemen? He says, you're here at the meeting. Are you gentlemen by any chance geologists? And one fellow, yes, I am. And the other, yeah. He said, well, why don't you tell me? He said, why is oil? You know, and he went on like that. We brought the house down because nobody could argue with Kantrowitz. He like Einstein. People aren't going to. And he told him right there. He said, just drop it. But it's in all the books and in all the papers. But it started from that strange meeting in 1892, a scientific convention. I have a big, thick scientific encyclopedia put out by the Divan Ostrand Company that's about 15 years old now, but it has the whole story of the conference. It doesn't have the Rockefeller part, but it has the whole story of how they straightened out organic chemicals and how it was all figured, and they've got petroleum right in there.
Amazing. Amazing. So
these aren't accidental things, you see. There's a dollar sign behind almost everything.
Well, that makes sense, right? There's a dollar sign behind almost anything, and anyone would agree with that. Follow the money is usually what we say. With trying to get to the bottom of things, like who benefits from different things. So, again, right? So this is someone sent this. I think it was Monique sent me this or shared this. And I picked it up, I think, on her Facebook page. So if you see, there's a bit of a meme here. And it says, in the 1960s, oil was going to be gone in 10 years. This is what we were told. So it goes on with this particular gentleman, what he was talking about with fossil fuels. It creates this urgency that we're going to run out of it. And so the price then can go up and things like that, right? So in the 1970s, we were told that there was going to be an ice age in 10 years, right? 1960s, oil was going to be gone in 10 years. In the 70s, there's going to be another ice age in 10 years. In the 1980s, and I remember this, and I even named one of my bands this name, acid rain will destroy all crops in 10 years. That's what we were told in the 1980s. Acid rain will destroy all crops in 10 years. In the 1990s, the ozone layer was going to be gone in 10 years, right? And then in the 2000s, ice caps will be gone in 10 years. You know, the ice caps, you know where they are. Just north of us there. So the ice caps would be gone in 10 years. And then, what are we being told now? You know? So again, this is the thing. Go back in time, look what we've been told. Who's telling us these things, and why do we keep believing it? And, you know, if I was back in the 70s and I said, no, an ice age isn't going to happen in 10 years, I'd be called a conspiracy theorist, I guess, because scientists were saying it was. Leonard Nimoy was, you know, on TV telling us it was going to happen. And Leonard Nimoy was an actor, so obviously he's right? So, again, like, what are these things going on? Like, we're being told things today that are pretty apparent. You know, people are being called conspiracy theorists and things. And so we come to weather modification. A lot, you know, you see jets going over and leaving spray in our skies each and every day. And you're like, what the heck? Or you're not like, what the heck? You're like, oh, those are clouds, or that's just jet fuel. That's normal. It's been around forever. No. It's part of weather modification. It's been going on for many, many years now. And here you have the latest. And this is mainstream CBS talking about weather modification. And look where they're at. Look where they're at speaking publicly. Lasers now. You know, we've bypassed everything. We're into lasers and controlling our weather. So this is interesting. So have a listen here.
Really? To change the weather?
That's right. Well, as Mark Twain once famously said, everyone complains about the weather, but no one ever does anything about it. Well, instead of doing a rain dance, we physicists are firing trillion-watt lasers into the sky to actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts.
We physicists are projecting trillion-watt lasers into the atmosphere. We physicists, not conspiracy theorists, not just someone making this up. We physicists are projecting trillion-watt lasers into the atmosphere.
Go ahead.
Well, this fascinates me in part because, too, I remember reading the stories that China had used this during the Olympics, that the USSR had used this after Chernobyl to create rain clouds.
So that media person heard that China used it for the Olympics and that Russia used it. So here you have two world powers with power to manipulate weather, right? Many years ago, these things happened many years ago, but this particular person, this newscaster, heard this. Right? There you go.
I mean, did those really work then? We have some of these capabilities now?
Inconclusive. Even in the 60s, the CIA used this to bring down monsoons during the Vietnam War, to wash out the Viet Cong. Governments have been playing with this thing.
Alleged to.
Alleged to, right.
Yeah.
Now, we realize that for decades now, these governments have been alleged to have experimented with weather control, but nothing conclusive. This time we're bringing in the laws of physics rather than simply waving our hands and uttering mumbo jumbo. We're actually using trillion-watt lasers now. And in the laboratory, sure enough, they precipitate rain out of water vapor. Sure enough, you can actually bring down electricity down the beam. Firing trillion-watt lasers, you rip apart the electrons, creating what are called ions, and these ions act like seeds, like dust particles, bringing down rain and even lightning.
And even lightning. Is that interesting? You know, we think, okay, well, they're making it rain or whatever, you know, this, that, and the other. So if they can make lightning, man-made lightning, what else can they do, right? So, and again, we've heard that even back in the, you know, in the Vietnam War, they were using weather manipulation as a weapon. Chinese, Russians are using it, you know. We've heard, you know, again, it's just these are news people, or these are the people you put your confidence in, just saying, oh, I heard this, Oh, but it hasn't been substantiated. Well, you as a journalist could probably find that out by asking questions easily. You know, it's just, again, it's very kind of sloppy, as I'm digressing a little bit on the way people think these news people are somehow, they're holier than thou, that everything they say is true all the time and whatever. They're just reading off a teleprompter, for crying out loud. But who's got the teleprompter? Again, right? So little things come out here and there, and it's been like this over years and years and years. If someone was able to compile all of the news, mainstream media, on weather manipulation and like things, there'd be tons and tons and tons of evidence of it, and it wouldn't be just unsubstantiated information. It would be facts, and it is. There's reports from government organizations out there. There's patents, as somebody was sharing in the comments, weather manipulation patents for years and years and years. And it explains the technology, and it works. So if it works and you're able to do it, like China wanted to make sure their opening ceremonies, were stellar, and that, they knew the eyes of the world were on them. They couldn't have it raining. So they made sure it didn't rain that day because they had the technology to do that. Very simple. Been around forever and ever. And we've shared this many times on the show. Even the documentary we were showing called The Dimming of the Sun, which you can just look up on YouTube, The Dimming of the Sun, and you can watch that documentary. Talks about how long it's been around and how much they have been doing. Yeah, for sure, Miles. Marshall McLuhan, definitely the edict. The message is the medium. The medium is the message. There we go. The medium is the message. Canadian, by the way, Marshall McLuhan. Learned all about him in communications in university, so that was a lot of fun. But there you go. So anyways, a lot of people being called out, conspiracy theorists and whatever, but take the time, just look up the information. Well, again, if you're one of these people who just like name calling other people and don't like looking into, looking at the information for yourself, it can be frustrating to think you were right and then find out you're wrong. But look, you just joined the rest of us that thought we were right at some point. And if you have a significant other, you're used to that anyways, is thinking you're right and then realizing you're wrong. It's just something we get used to in life. And then you start learning what's really true. And it's okay. It's okay to have been wrong at one point in your life and then move on and learn some new things, some things that are true, some things that are real. If you want to do that, right? You don't have to. You can still call people conspiracy theorists and go away. And go away mad usually. And you have to ask yourself, well, how is that? Well, why do you have an angry emotion that goes along with, you call someone a conspiracy theorist and then you're angry? So where do you think that comes from? Why are you angry? When you actually understand something and you can connect all the dots, it's like a big weight off your shoulders. And it's okay. Sure, it might not be what you thought, and sure, it might not be ideal in many ways, but truth is truth, and you can't help it. It's there. You can't change it either by just believing. I know this goes in contrast to what people are being taught these days. You just believe it and it's true, but that's not true. It's not just what you believe is true is true. Truth exists separate of anything else. It's just self-standing alone on its own, and it's there to be found out if you want to know it. So thanks everyone. Today we were able to get through the show. It was a bit discombobulated. I apologize for that. We were supposed to have Judy on, so I think I was putting a little bit more. I didn't kind of prepare as much if she was having technical difficulties, which I thought could have been possible too, which did end up happening. So that's my bad, my fault. So anyways, thanks for being with us today. It was a great show having you on. Great comments, and much appreciated, by the way. Stay tuned now for Earshot Daily, and check out the show tomorrow where we will have Judy on, and we'll learn about this wonderful fundraiser that we're going to be having for CKLU. And it's a great idea, this whole storytelling thing. It's like sitting around the campfire with your your favorite uncle who's a great storyteller or whatever, and you just can't get enough. Just tell me another one, kind of thing. Stories and real life events that are kind of humorous are just really cool. And I'm glad that CKLU is using this opportunity to bring the community together and raise funds for the station as well, which we do really need. We count on your support. So thanks everyone for being on today, listening, watching. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow with Judy Strawn on talking about the fundraiser. Stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU 96.7 FM. Have a great one. Stay safe, everyone. Make sure to like, share, take care, and ciao.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.